This is CBC Here and Now.
You know, you have to wonder who was doing the bullying here.
Accused of bullying and harassment by his own colleagues.
He's been cleared of almost all accusations, and tonight Dale Kirby sits down to tell his side of the story. Good evening, I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Debbie Cooper. MHAs are preparing to return to the House of Assembly tomorrow to deal with the reports into bullying and harassment.
And one of those reports is already public. On Friday, Dale Kirby released a report into his behavior which mostly clears him of wrongdoing. But it also raises questions about other shenanigans among politicians. Here now's Katie Breen will be at the Confederation building tomorrow when all of this happens. I'll probably have to join you, Katie. So what are people saying in anticipation of the House reopening?
Well, most of the main players aren't talking. We'll hear from Dale Kirby later in the show, but Eddie Joyce isn't doing interviews, the complainants are quiet, and so is the Premier. Only the opposition would weigh in. Should Kirby and Joyce be allowed back in?
I have no opinion on that.
I'm not going to prejudge that because, as I say, process is important.
Tomorrow we'll know exactly what the Commissioner of Legislative Standards found. But for now, it's just what's been leaked. Kirby says he's been cleared. Eddie Joyce refuses to speak to the CBC, but there are media reports that say he's been cleared of most of the allegations. Tomorrow, all of the details will become public, and politicians will be able to review and debate them.
We can reject those recommendations. We can accept them. We can modify them. We're acting in a judicial capacity, sitting in judgment on the behavior or misbehavior of members. So we need time to do that right.
The opposition says it's hard to speculate exactly how tomorrow will go. The House is only supposed to open for one day, but they say it could stretch on into the week as parties discuss what the allegations and findings mean going forward.
For those who have lodged complaints, I hope that this process gives them a sense of justice. I do not know that it will.
I reached out to the Commissioner of Legislative Standards today to ask about the cost of all of this. His office wrote back and said that, the invoices haven't been finalized yet. Another question tomorrow might answer. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Katie Breen in St. John's.
Now, on that issue of cost that Katie mentioned, it is a concern of Dale Kirby's, and he flagged that during a conversation that I had with the MHA late this afternoon. And he says, in the end, taxpayers are the ones who are going to pay the price.
I can't say as though I feel like I am the victim here. I think the real victim here is the taxpayers of Newfoundland and Labrador who have footed the bill for this fiasco, which is going to run, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars when all the legal bills are counted in the end. So
now we'll have my sit-down interview with Dale Kirby in about 15 minutes.
Trades NL says all Astaldi workers who were scheduled to leave the Muskrat Falls site in Labrador are now out. The umbrella union representing workers says its shop stewards are still at the site helping with demobilization and the shutdown. A Trades NL Facebook post says most personal belongings have been packed and shipping will start this week. Late last week, Nalcor Energy issued a stop work order to Astaldi over concerns about Astaldi's ability to pay its workers. Around 500 workers have since left the site in what is just the latest complication in a project that is over budget and behind schedule. Nalcor says it will focus now on finding other contractors to finish Astaldi's work. Meanwhile, moments ago, Astaldi sent out a news release saying Nalcor is now jeopardizing the project with this move.
And staying with Muskrat Falls, a former senior lawyer with the government was grilled today at the inquiry for changing his description of how Nalcor operated. Todd Stanley testified, and he was working closely with Natural Resources as Nalcor planned Muskrat Falls, but his testimony today at the inquiry didn't match what he said to Commission staff during earlier interviews when he described Nalcor as a runaway train. Today, on cross-examination, lawyer Barry Learmonth asked him why he changed his words.
I don't think the use of the term, one of the terms that you used before, of runaway train, necessarily.
I didn't use that. You did.
No, yeah, you raised it.
Yeah.
I use that term in a context to impart a meaning of there being a concern about the level of control or the level of knowledge that was going on into Nalcor, but that's a descriptive metaphor that maybe not necessarily adds a great deal to the other message, which I fully stand by, which was that there were concerns at the time of how much stuff was going on at Nalcor.
It's the 10th win in 7 weeks. Coming up on Here and Now, meet the newest millionaire in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Pretty happy?
Why wouldn't he be? That's wonderful. I'm looking forward to hearing from him, see what he's going to buy, what he's going to do, who's going to help. Anyway, that's ahead. Our weather is a little sneak peek at what's coming tonight in the weather. Hey, Ashley?
Yeah, we saw lots of rain this weekend across most of the island. If we take a look at the current radar, most of that rain has pushed off the coast for now. We are seeing some scattered shower activity through the west coast that will likely change over to flurries towards the inland as we head through the night tonight. But the big story, other than the rain, was how warm it was this weekend. We saw temperatures in Twillingate actually broke a record, 14.3 degrees yesterday. That only broke a record by 0.1 degree, but still quite warm for this time of year. Taking a look at the temperatures from today, 15 degrees in St. John's earlier this morning. That was about 5:30. Those temperatures have since dropped, and then we're seeing those cooler temperatures in behind it. About Corner Brook sitting at 6 degrees earlier today. Same for Stephenville. And then as we move towards inland as well, Badger sitting at about 6 degrees today. Those cooler temperatures, though, again, up through Labrador, -3 Labrador City, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, sitting at +3. Now, the other story was how windy it was as well. Topped out in Rec House at about 114 kilometers per hour earlier today, this weekend. Port de Grave, 113, Gander at 100. St. John's reported a gust of 91 kilometers per hour. And then again, as I mentioned, we saw a lot of rain this weekend as well. I'll have all those details and your full forecast coming up in a little bit. Debbie?
Thanks, Ashley. For some independent cannabis retailers, the high of legalization didn't last long. Brisk sales have left shelves empty, and it's not easy restocking the specialized supply. Some are concerned that cannabis customers will now turn to the black market. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton has been following this story. He joins us live. Jeremy, does anyone have any product on hand?
Good luck getting your hands on some legal weed here tonight in Newfoundland and Labrador. I'm outside of this tweed shop here on Kenmount Road. Been a steady stream of people walking in and then walking out disappointed because there's no cannabis or cannabis-related products here either. So the much hyped high of legalized marijuana is turning into a bit of a bad trip, and it's having a big impact on small businesses. Retailers from St. John's to Labrador City are being affected. 4, 3, 2, 1. From elation early Wednesday morning to frustration today.
We placed quite big orders with a lot of different companies. We received probably not even half of that. So, we set up everything else in our store, and then the one thing that we need to actually make sales, we don't actually have.
The Natural Vibe sold one of the first legalized grams in the country, but sold out not long after. Now, Kennedy is forced to hang this sign on her door.
The phone's been ringing nonstop. We have people constantly coming in asking. It breaks my heart every time we have to turn them away. And it's just frustrating because we don't know exactly when it's going to arrive. We keep getting mixed information. We've been told it's going to arrive this morning. It's past noon. We still don't have anything.
It may be a different part of the province, but it's still the same story for High North and Labrador City.
We're almost losing money day to day here now. We got staff on hand waiting because they don't know when the product's going to arrive, so we need to keep our staff on hand, but yet there's no sales.
They also won't know when it's going to show up. They don't even know how it's going to get there. The Tobins say the first order just showed up in the parking lot with no notice at all.
We don't know what to be telling the customers. Please call back, please call back. A lot of the people walk out of here and say, oh, I guess it's back to the black market.
So a spokesperson for Canopy Growth told me in an email today that the demand in Newfoundland and Labrador has been impressive, and it says that its workers are working hard to try to restock the shelves here in this province. In fact, in that email that I got earlier today, the company is getting ready to ship out 100,000 100,000 units of cannabis and cannabis-related products. Some of that will end up in this province. But in the meantime, for the people coming out of this store looking for marijuana, they're just going to have to wait or turn to the black market. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Jeremy Eaton in St. John's.
Well, canopy growth shareholders may be feeling a little deflated as well. Share prices for the cannabis producer have gone down after a spike last week leading up to legalization. Canopy Growth's share spiked last Monday at nearly $76, the highest in a year, but since then the price has been dropping. It is a similar story for Aurora Cannabis, another marijuana producer. It had a spike in its share price leading up to legalization, but it's been settling down since then.
There are new charges for a man accused of a pair of brazen carjackings last week. Jesse Lewis is now accused of kidnapping. According to police, he had a male passenger in a stolen van when he crashed on Thorburn Road last Wednesday, and that van was allegedly stolen from Avondale. According to the Telegram, the passenger got out and was screaming that he'd been taken against his will. It's alleged that Lewis carjacked a grandmother and her 3 grandchildren while holding a screwdriver. He now faces 54 charges in total.
2 women have been charged with pocketing money that was supposed to go to help a girl with cerebral palsy. Stephanie Linthorne and Rebecca Poole are accused of keeping $6,000 and are due in court in December. A 50-50 draw in cookie sales were supposed to help raise money for Sarah Tipple, but her mother Isla said they didn't get any of that. They filed a complaint with the RCMP, resulting in charges. The one bit of good news has been the outpouring of support after other people heard about the missing money.
It's just been phenomenal. I mean, people have been messaging us from literally all across Canada. We've got phone calls here on my house phone. We've got private messages and emails and random letters with donations coming in our mailbox. It's just been phenomenal, the amount of love and support that she's been shown since all of this happened.
Canada Post workers have begun a series of 24-hour rotating strikes. Wages and job security are the core issues, but the union says it has also been advocating for expanded services.
We're actually fighting for better services for our public post office. We've put on the bargaining table we want to expand services such as postal banking. We want to get out into the communities and offer broadband internet, and we want to make sure that we start expanding the services and growing the services.
Now, strikes hit 4 cities today. No mail delivery in Halifax, Windsor, Edmonton, and Victoria. The union representing 50,000 postal workers has been negotiating with Canada Post for nearly a year now.
Anthony, yet another lucky lottery winner in this province.
When's our turn?
I don't know. I keep hoping.
The CBS man now the 3rd millionaire in a month here in Newfoundland and Labrador. And here now, Stephen Miller was on hand for all the celebration.
1, 2, 3.
That's the sound of another Atlantic Lottery millionaire. Leo Barron of Conception Bay South is the lucky winner this week, and he's sharing his new wealth.
Right there in the background, I got 2 grandchildren. One is only a week old. The other little guy is 3 years old. Hopefully I'll be able to take good care of them. And my 3 children are here also, and I'm going to take care of them. Then I'm going to invest some money, and my big one is I'm going to see Bruce Springsteen on Broadway.
Barron is the 6th Newfoundlander in 7 weeks to win big, purchasing his ticket at Maze Variety and Foxtrap. But don't be too jealous. He's been waiting almost 50 years for this Lotto Max win.
It finally paid off. I'm an avid ticket purchaser. I don't miss a draw. And, of course, when the prize is bigger, I get more tickets. But I don't miss a draw, no. And, I mean, I feel I've kind of earned this in a way. I mean, anybody that's bought as many tickets as I have, you know, and loyal to the game, it's good to get something back. It really is. Yep.
At roughly $5 a ticket, that's a lot of money gambled for a payout like this. And it looks like Barron won't be the last big provincial winner of 2018.
We still have a total of 1 unclaimed prizes. It's $1 million on Lotto Max from the draw date October the 12th.
There are a lot of big prizes coming up this week, and as you've heard, there's still $1 million jackpot waiting to be claimed. So check those tickets, people. This winner's parking space could be reserved for you next. Stephen Miller, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, in Come From Away news, organizers of the show say it's set today to become the longest-running Canadian show on Broadway.
In December 2007, the Canadian production The Drowsy Chaperone closed its Broadway run after 674 performances in just over a year and a half. Come From Away officially opened on Broadway on March 12, 2017.
I think the real victim here is the taxpayers of Newfoundland and Labrador who have footed the bill for this fiasco.
It's an investigation that Kirby says will cost hundreds of thousands in taxpayer dollars.
Coming up, Dale Kirby sits down with Anthony to talk marijuana, harassed colleagues, and confidentiality.
Welcome back to Here and Now. The House of Assembly reconvenes tomorrow to deal with harassment investigation reports following investigations into two Liberal MHAs, Eddie Joyce and our next guest, former Education Minister Dale Kirby. Now, these reports from the Commissioner of Legislative Standards, Bruce Chalk, they're going to be tabled in the House tomorrow. And Dale Kirby, you didn't really want to wait until tomorrow. You decided to release these late Friday afternoon. Why did you release it?
I mean, as we sort of discussed, I mean, I have had this hanging over my head for 6 months now, and the sooner the better. The reports were circulating out there, and we live in a small political universe, and it was only a matter of time. And I mean, when the Premier of the province asked Bruce Chalk to do this investigation back in April, it really set in course a sequence of events that would inevitably end up with these tabled in the House of Assembly. So they were going to be public one way or the other, but
You want to get ahead of it?
I wanted to make sure people know my side of the story and that, you know, what actually was alleged and what was found.
Let's get to your side of the story. How do you feel you were treated in the course of Mr. Chalk's investigation?
Well, I don't feel very good about it. I mean, April the 28th, I was called by the Premier and his staff to say that I had been accused by Colin Holloway and Pam Parsons of bullying and harassment and so on, and I was provided with very little information about what it was. And then within a few days, the person who was doing the investigation, Bruce Chalk, was out talking to the media about how he might fire MHAs, and so, you know, I'm not independently wealthy. This is the job that I've chosen to do right now.
Right, so you were shocked that he actually went that far?
Well, sure, that he would fire me over things that I didn't even know anything about, and then I learned later that he knew nothing about at that point because he didn't receive any complaint. The initial complaint from Colin Holloway came in May, and there was nothing from Pam Parsons until July. So.
Right.
So I was really in the dark, and we were not giving very much information.
The allegations, I think what strikes a lot of people is how odd they are. So for instance, there's this information that came out that you smoked marijuana with Pam Parsons at a Liberal convention and that you were alleged to have put beers on her tab. Now, these are odd, to say the least. What did you make of them when they were brought to your attention?
I don't know what this marijuana business has to do with anything, to be quite honest. It was never part of any of the allegation. I tried to be as honest and forthcoming as I could with the commissioner because I was told that I made these comments to Pam in a private meeting at the Liberal convention 2 years ago almost, and the only private meeting I had with anybody at that weekend was my wife and I, who were staying at the hotel and attending the convention. So I didn't understand the context, so I sort of talked about, well, I don't know, the one time we were alone. And in any case, I don't know why it was that he thought it was important to...
but you're not denying that you smoked weed with her, right?
Deny it? No, but I mean, I feel it's an invasion of my privacy. I don't see what it adds to the report, and I also think it really adds to the sort of sensationalism of this whole thing from the beginning. Because in any sort of workplace, if you think about this, in any workplace, if I was in a unionized work environment and I was accused of bullying and harassment, I don't think anybody would go out and put that on the notice board.
No, there'd be a process.
Sure, absolutely. It would be confidential and private, and my privacy and that of my family would be respected. And that's not what happened here.
It leads into my next question, Mr. Kirby, and that is why couldn't Premier Ball just bring you two into a room, private meeting, and deal with these things in a mediated way?
I don't have an answer to that question. I mean, I think, as I've said, I think it's a sort of a customary or a cautionary tale for anybody who's thinking about running for provincial politics. If this is the way that MHAs will deal with sort of grievances or, you know, sort of disagreements with each other about policy issues or positions we take that are different from one another, or the fact that we sort of regularly disagree about things, if this is the best way you can come up with to settle those sorts of grievances and concerns, and I don't know, it's not no way to run a province.
Just to be clear on this, my last question do you feel like the victim in all this?
I mean, I think if you, like, I'm not here to say, poor me, look what happened. I think it's important for everybody to have an opportunity to tell their side of the story. But if you read these two complaints written by Colin Holloway and Pam Parsons, and you read them back to back, some of my friends who I've shared it with because they want to know what is going on have said, you know, you have to wonder who was doing the bullying here. I mean, there was a lot of abusive, hostile behavior, well, I don't talk about my abusive, hostile behavior in my response to any of that, and I don't feel that I was abusive or hostile with them. I mean, contrary to popular belief, I abhor conflict. I don't like conflict, and I'm the sort of person who will avoid conflict if necessary. And
you're a very assertive fellow.
I'm not the great conciliator by any far stretch of the imagination. I mean, I'm decisive. I take positions, I stand by them, I think it's important. I mean, as I was saying to my friend on the way over here, I mean, you know, there are people whose, you know, what goes on the dinner table is dependent on what our leaders are deciding. And sometimes I guess that's not the chosen style for other people, and I do like to debate, but I don't like nastiness and conflict any more than any other human being. But I can't say as though I feel like I am the victim here. I think the real victim here is the taxpayers of Newfoundland and Labrador, who have footed the bill for this fiasco, which is going to run, you know, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars when all the legal bills are counted in the end. So.
Should be quite an interesting day in the House of Assembly tomorrow. Mr. Kirby, thank you for dropping by. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Studios here in St. John's. Cloudy now. Winds have died down. They're going to pick up as we head through the next couple of hours, and then even we'll see some partly clearing skies as well, even though that chance of showers will stick around. I'll have all the details on your forecast coming up.
I'm never going to get all this done. Never.
What do you got going on there, Fred?
It's my to-do list for Christmas, and it's going to be here to once.
Oh, no.
To once? Don't be talking. Sure, we got to do an entire cross-Canada tour before we can get back in time for Christmas.
And where's Phil? We need to write our letter to Santa.
That's right.
You got a lot to do, but listen, thanks for dropping off them tickets for the Christmas show.
Sure
Check.
knows.
We want to know what you got to get done to once for Christmas. Call the morning line, enter for a chance to win tickets to the show.
Weather update is brought to you by Harvey's Home Heating. Complete furnace replacement if yours cannot be repaired. That's Furnace Freedom. Visit harveyshomeheating.ca for more.
Okay, well, I'm still using this squeegee on my driveway because of all the rain over the last little while. We must have received certain parts of the island worse than the Avalon, obviously, but...
Yeah, we did. We saw tons of rain through parts of the island. Take a look at some of these numbers recorded. St. Albans sitting at 123.9 millimeters of rain. Significant amount. St. Pierre as well also saw quite a bit of rainfall, 92.3 millimeters through this weekend. That's including starting on Saturday night and then into Monday, or this morning rather. Gander saw 82.4 millimeters of rain. Marystown a little bit less at 56, and then Corner Brook and Burgeo around 50 millimeters of rain this weekend. Eastern parts of the island saw significantly less, only about 14 millimeters recorded here in St. John's. So taking a look at the water vapor imagery, you can see just how much fell or could have potentially fallen into the weekend. And this is just a picture of how much moisture was in the atmosphere. So it continued into Sunday and then even more so into Monday morning. And then that moved off. And we can see that with that radar picture right now. You can see that base, that cloud cover, has since moved off along with that rainfall as well. Most of the activity right now is along the south coast. We're seeing some showers towards the inland areas. That should change over to the chance of flurries through the overnight. If we take a look at the future tracker, you can see all of that snow in that southwest flow. And then that will continue as we head through the night tonight. Otherwise, we've got a lot of snowfall up through parts of Labrador, Happy Valley, Goose Bay, likely picking up close to 5, maybe even 10 centimeters of snow again through the night tonight. And then into tomorrow, we'll see some of that activity push towards central regions, even some cloud cover clearing into the afternoon. But again, we're going to see that chance of showers right through the day and along the Avalon as well. It looks like into Tuesday afternoon and then into the evening hours. Otherwise, the next system doesn't move in until at least Wednesday. Another amount of rainfall will push in. Up through Labrador, we're going to see that start as snow again and then change over to rain potentially for parts of Happy Valley, Goose Bay into the evening and overnight hours. And with that system, we're going to see a big jump in temperatures as well. So taking a look at the forecast for tonight, breezy conditions expected along the south coast. Could see gusts upwards of 60, maybe even 70 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, that chance of showers. Inland areas, again, looking at about 2 centimeters of snow through the night tonight. Otherwise, just the chance of a few showers down through Burin and the Avalon as well. Gander hovering around 0 degrees tonight under partly cloudy skies. For the most part, otherwise, Grand Fall, Windsor looking at a chance of either showers or flurries. Same for St. Anthony. Cartwright looking at rain snow mix and 1 degree. And then again, as I mentioned, Happy Valley, Goose Bay looking at about 5 to 10 centimeters of snow tonight, hovering around the 0 degree mark, and then Lab City around at -8. So that's a look at tonight's forecast. We will go into detail on tomorrow's forecast and that warm up I mentioned coming up in a little bit. Debbie?
Thanks, Ashley. Well, you're about to meet some history buffs who are taking matters into their own hands. They're members of the local metal detector club, Diggin' the Rock, who are looking for history hiding in the dirt. And they've dug up some unique finds. Video producer Paul Colburn put together this story.
My name is Lynette Stam. We go down this path a little bit.
Name's Daryl Steele. Metal detecting now for, I guess, 12 years, I suppose. If I look for areas like might have been farmed years ago, I spend about 3 hours perusing Google Earth, and I picked off about 8 or 9 different potential dig sites.
When you're listening to tones, you know, you find your ears will sharpen right off of it. And that's what I'm doing there now. As they're doing that, I'm listening, and I'm listening to the difference in the tones. And when he hits that, it's a nice solid high ring that you know that's a good target. What kind of number are you getting there?
Like a musket ball type of signal. Higher the number, usually silver is something really, 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 really good. It can sound really good on the machine until you dig the hole, and then it's like,
that is a chunk of lead.
What are you getting?
My name is Mike Stamp, and I've been metal detecting for 2 years. I retired. I was looking for something to do, you know, as a hobby. One of the things that I thought about doing was metal detecting. My wife had a lifelong desire for it, and I just decided that it was interesting, especially from a historical point of view.
What number is that, Mike?
33. Mid-range machine, which most people do have, and their machines probably will reach down approximately a foot.
Exciting.
You dig a plug, you lift the plug up and move it to one side, then you take your pinpointer, and as you get closer to the metal object, the dinging increases until it becomes solid. Then you know you're right on the metal. Oh, roundness in the hole.
Look at this.
Oh, that's fly. What's that? Piece of pipe? Pretty shiny.
Looks like a ring to me. Yes, bye.
I just walked over that, like literally. It's a 1959 Bentley. It's made by Corgi. It was only made in 1960. That's the only time that it was produced. We found this in the ground in Pippi Park.
This is a Philip IV, 1600s. It's some people used to refer them to as a piece of 8. This is actually 1/4 of a coin. And then if we turn it over, there's a line on it.
If you're interested in getting into the hobby, I suggest you start with a lower ranged, lower priced item, but not the cheapest one you can get. One in the $250 to $350 price range will give you some good results when you go detecting. And the first time you dig and find a coin or an interesting relic, that's all it'll take. After that, you're hooked.
This is packaging for 1 gram of weed. You get this cardboard box, and then inside the cardboard box is a bottle.
How much packaging is needed for a joint? That's what some customers are asking now that they can legally buy cannabis. Well, we've been talking tonight about the problems with the cannabis supply, not even a week after legalization, and yet there is none left to buy here in Newfoundland and Labrador. But there's also another problem being raised by customers, and that's the amount of packaging that's used for cannabis products. Shane Fowler has this story from New Brunswick.
This is the photo that went viral after Greg McLean bought 4 grams of cannabis last Wednesday. A pile of plastic and packing that struck him as he reviewed the experience on his YouTube channel later that day.
This is packaging for 1 gram of weed. You get this cardboard box, and then inside the cardboard box is a bottle.
It's a tube, and you can put a lot of stuff in.
It's a lot of waste.
I think the packaging is pretty excessive. When you look at what comes for just 1 gram of weed, you got a cardboard box, comes in a bottle is sealed with more plastic.
In Nova Scotia, there can be as much as 70 grams of packaging for every 1 gram of product. So we decided to check for ourselves, and sure enough, there's a lot. Cardboard, plastic, more cardboard, more plastic. A pile of garbage that accumulates just to get to the bud inside. It's something that bothers many, including Remy Robichaud of Moncton, who says it's obvious the impact on the environment just isn't being considered.
It's really shameful, I find. With being a coastal province, they should do something about the amount of plastic that goes into our ocean. But seeing the amount of plastic being used for such small quantities, it's really shameful. Both men suggest reusable glass containers or offer up a recycling program to combat the excess, like some of the private stores have in British Columbia. Health Canada says it's on producers to provide appropriate packaging, and they require that it be packaged in a way that is tamper-evident, child-resistant, keeps cannabis dry, and prevents contamination. Shane Fowler, CBC News, Fredericton.
Doctors in Toronto say cases are on the rise of a rare illness that can cause paralysis in children. It follows a small surge of the disease in the States, where doctors have confirmed 60 cases. The illness is not unheard of in this country, but it's not known what causes it and how it's transmitted. The CBC health reporter Christine Birak has the details.
For 2-year-old Julia Payne, it started as a common cold. Weeks later, she was having trouble breathing. Then her parents noticed something was terribly wrong.
She lost control of her neck and her right arm, and it just continued to go down from there.
Doctors later told them Julia had acute flaccid paralysis, or myelitis, a muscle weakening disease that looks a lot like polio. It's extremely rare, but the number of cases appears to be higher than usual this year in both the United States and Canada. South of the border, they've confirmed just over 60 cases and are investigating 65 others.
We are seeing a cluster.
At the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto, doctors have seen fewer than 20 young patients.
We certainly have heard colleagues talk about cases in other centres across Canada, but I don't have a sense of exactly what the numbers are.
Scientists say acute flaccid paralysis is the rare complication or side effect of a common virus. There was a similar jump in cases back in 2014. MRI scans revealed damage to each child's spinal cord, weakening or paralyzing different muscles. Some cases were traced back to a known enterovirus, but scientists say it didn't explain every case.
Well, I think it's frustrating for everybody. It's frustrating for patients. It's definitely frustrating for families.
Good job.
Some children fully recover from the illness, regaining movement and strength, usually within a few months. For others, the nerve damage can be permanent, and treatments are hard to come by. Julia's parents remain optimistic.
We are very encouraged she's improving, which we hope will continue, but we just don't know.
Doctors say parents should not panic. Acute flaccid paralysis only affects about 1 in a million children. As for the advice on trying to avoid it, it's fairly standard. Remind kids to wash their hands to prevent the spread of viruses. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, some classrooms in Hampton, New Brunswick are getting trashed, and they're being trashed by the students who call it a stinky, dirty lesson, and yet they all seem to love it. And as CBC's Kayla Houtzel discovers, the results are impressive.
What do these all have in common?
In this New Brunswick classroom, the lesson is garbage, and trash talk is encouraged.
Just raise your hand if you think you know why we do this program.
To make the world a better place.
Something for you guys down there?
Jane Burchell is a program delivery officer for the Gaia Project, a nonprofit that pushes young people to take action on environmental issues. Before long, students are heading down the hall to the art room, and that's where things get really, well, dirty.
Ew! This is disgusting!
Burchell and her staff dump the school's entire garbage collection from the day before.
It's stinky.
The kids separate the garbage into the appropriate bins for recycling and composting.
I learned that helping the environment is important.
Right there.
Burchell says the program is unique.
We are looking through their garbage that they themselves put in the waste system yesterday, so I think it really holds them accountable.
This school already has a strong recycling program, but the students have found they still need to improve.
So you can see almost 50% of what we found in the garbage was compost.
With the trash appropriately sorted, weighed, and tracked, the kids are back in the classroom, brainstorming ideas.
People should put labels on bins, and when people have garbage and stuff that they don't know where to put it, they should look at the label.
The Gaia project says schools have reduced their overall waste footprint by half after completing the program.
I think that students get a lot more from actually digging into the garbage and putting their hands in it and seeing what's there than if I was to stand in the classroom and say, do a lesson and give them a test.
There we go.
The students say they will work hard to reduce the amount of garbage they send to the dump.
We are
Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Hampton, New Brunswick.
Sounds like a good lesson to get at the young ones.
Yeah, excellent.
Lady Cove Women's Choir kicked off its season at the Rooms Gallery this weekend, and Anthony, you were there.
Yeah, I was. It was fantastic. The fog kind of blocked that beautiful view of the Narrows from there, but the music from Ladies Cove, certainly warmed us all up. It was incredible. Just take a look. So for the first time ever in its 16-year history, the choir took on some Canadian and French-Canadian tunes, a little Edith Piaf as well. The choir made up of amateur and professional musicians.
They were joined by French-Canadian choral conductors Robert Fillon and Nadine Hébert. Stay with Here and Now. We'll be right back. That is so beautiful, Anthony.
That's good.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we get to the weather, big news for Corey fans.
Now, actually, this may be something new for you, but when people aren't watching the Weather Network, there's this show called Coronation Street.
Yes.
Massively popular here, especially the Newfoundlanders and Labradorans. They love Coronation Street. And you might recall that we caught up with Cassie Little, and there he is.
Sure do, yeah. One guy actually won a bronze for the 400-meter relay. No way. What about you? You any good at sports?
Was.
Is.
It was okay at 40.
Well, that's because you ain't got one of these yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as Cassidy Little, of course, he was injured in Afghanistan. He's from Newfoundland, but joined the British Marines, and he managed to get Cassidy's turned into like an actor and a dancer, and he got to get on this. And you're looking at a sneak peek of Cassidy's debut on a few episodes. This is the first episode.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be popular. Cassidy will play a Paralympian in 6 episodes. Of course, in real life, Cassidy lost a leg during that combat in Afghanistan, and went on to be the face of the Royal British Legion's Poppy campaign.
Yeah, won a dance competition too, which
yes, Dancing with the Stars.
That's right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, it was remarkable.
Yeah, and this little boy, I gather, is an amputee in the program.
He lost his leg recently. He's not an amputee himself in real life, but he did lose his leg, and so the whole idea was to get this guy to be like his life coach, which is what Cassidy Little will be playing over, I think, 7 or 8 episodes.
So so there's the shows on tonight, but we're not sure if in Canada we'll see that episode.
You'll have to wait.
You'll just have to keep your eyes peeled. So back to the weather.
Back to the weather. You know, over the past couple of days, we saw a lot of rainfall. Now these temperatures have dropped a little bit across the province, and the reason for that is where the jet stream is sitting. So if we take a look at that right now, we've got a big ridge in the jet stream up over the Northwest Territories and Yukon, and then dipping right down over into Ontario, and then we can see that moving right back up through parts of the Newfoundland and Labrador. And that low pressure system that we've been talking about is what's bringing that snowfall for parts of Labrador, and that will continue as we head through the night tonight and then into tomorrow as well. Things should eventually start to taper to flurries for the most part. Happy Valley Goose Bay sitting around 2 degrees tomorrow. Lab City around -4. Winds should be quite light though. Along the coast, a little stronger gusts out of the northwest between 30 and 50 kilometers per hour for the most part. Now towards the Straits, we're going to see that change to rain as 6 degrees. Along the coast as well, we'll see that shower activity. Inland, though, it does look like things will stay as flurries through the afternoon. And then more sunny periods expected for central portions and then eastern as well, as we see reaching a high near 8 degrees for St. John, 7 in Marystown. Again, we are going to see that slight chance of a few showers, though, into the afternoon, and that's because we've got that onshore flow. It's going to push most of that cloud cover towards the west coast, and then into the afternoon and evening hours, as I said, we're going to see things generally clear out, but we still can't rule out the risk of a few showers into the day. So we can see the next weather maker is around the Maritime provinces right now, and that will be the next story as we head into Wednesday. For the most part, going to push more moisture and then some stronger or rather some warmer temperatures as well. But again, it's going to continue to stay as snow for the most part for Labrador. Some heavy snow expected overnight Wednesday and then continuing into Thursday as we see that major push of warm air. So if we take a look at the 5-day forecast over for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland, 30% chance of flurries tomorrow, as I mentioned. Rain late day. Those winds are going to pick up, reaching a high near 9 degrees. Thursday, 13. There's that warm push of air, and then we'll see that drop back down into the weekend. Now for Western Labrador, same thing, or rather Western Newfoundland, 6 degrees by Wednesday, and then by Friday we'll dip back down, rain or snow through the afternoon hours, and then you can see those temperatures down to about 0 degrees through the overnight. Into central portions, the winds are going to pick up out of the southeast, clearing on Thursday, but there's that warm temperature again, 11 degrees, and then by Saturday dipping down to 4 degrees. Now up through Labrador, Western Labrador, late day rain, or rather snow expected. Look at that dip in temperatures as we head towards Friday and Saturday. And then same thing for Eastern Labrador, about northwest winds gusting upwards of 30 kilometers per hour. And then again, that snow will be there for Wednesday. So let's look at your outlook. We'll look at your weather photo coming up in a little bit.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, for months, the CBC has been reporting on complaints about misleading and aggressive sales tactics at Canada's telecom service providers. Those complaints have led to a federal inquiry. The CRTC public hearings began today in Ottawa.
1 in 4 Canadians have reported experiencing aggressive or misleading sales practices within the last year. It would appear that consumers' interests may not be being respected.
1,300 people or groups are scheduled to appear. Many consumers have complained about being pressured to buy more and about what they call misleading sales practices. Workers at the big three telecommunications companies have also complained. Earlier this year, many told CBC News they were forced to upsell customers in order to meet sales targets. The CRTC is expected to make a ruling early next year.
A disgruntled consumer who will share his story at the hearing is calling for rules that protect consumers instead of the companies. CBC Go Public's Erica Johnson has more.
We spoke to Sean Ahmed. He's one of a handful of frustrated telecom customers who will tell their stories before the CRTC panel today. Ahmed signed up for Rogers' internet service, thought his price was guaranteed for a year, but it went up 3 months into his contract.
This is what I would expect from a fly-by-night business, not from a major telecommunications provider.
After he complained to a mediator for telecom disputes, Rogers gave him a credit. But Ahmed says telcos shouldn't be allowed to increase internet prices during a contract. He wants the CRTC to create rules preventing it.
Do your job. Your job is to protect Canadian consumers, not to protect the telecommunications industry.
Consumer advocates are calling for a binding sales practices code for internet and cable services, which already exists for cell phones.
The code would generally say we don't want to have misleading sales, overly aggressive sales, or ones that are completely unsuitable for the customer.
The minister responsible for telecommunications told Go Public he too wants the inquiry to result in a code of conduct, which he says will help give Canadians what's needed.
That transparency, that accountability, that clarity for consumers. How can we best protect consumers, particularly the most vulnerable?
In all, 31 interveners are set to appear before the CRTC's hearing this week, including Canada's big three telcos. In their written submissions, Bell, Rogers and TELUS deny there are widespread problems. The regulator has until the end of February to make recommendations to government. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Alleged serial killer Bruce McArthur has appeared in court in person for the first time. He has given up his right to a preliminary inquiry, and his case will go straight to trial by judge alone. McArthur was arrested in January. Police found the remains of 7 men in large planters at a property where McArthur did landscaping work. Investigators found an 8th set of remains in a ravine near that same property. McArthur will appear in court again on November 5th.
The man accused of killing 2 police officers and 2 civilians in Fredericton in August was in court again today. Matthew Raymond is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. He hasn't entered any pleas, and during today's appearance, the 48-year-old interrupted his lawyer to say that he shouldn't be in prison at all and that he wasn't guilty due to temporary insanity. He also told the judge that he should be exonerated. The case will be back in court next week to set a date for the preliminary hearing.
Well, our weather photo today has a little special place in my heart. I think there's no denying where this is from, right?
So beautiful.
Yeah, Burin Peninsula.
I wish it was here in St. John's. But no, I think the snow gives it away, also the lights. I'll tell you where this beautiful aurora shot is coming up after the break. Just beautiful shot there of the aurora. It makes me so happy. So do you guys have any guesses of where that's
Well,
from?
I don't know what part of
Somewhere in Labrador.
Somewhere in Labrador. This was taken in Labrador City. So beautiful shot there. Yeah,
Absolutely
Did it make you miss the north?
It does, you know, it really does make me miss the north. I used to watch them sitting in bed. I could watch the northern
Just
lights.
through your window.
Just through my window, yep.
They are truly magical.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So that's thanks to Larry Jenkins for sending that along.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's our program for
Yeah.
the beginning of this week. Thanks for being with us, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Good night.